What is up and how's it going? And welcome back to another edition of the Noble Steady Sort of Sports Talk. Today we are recapping. We got episode 24 for y'all coming in today. I got my two co-hosts coming with me today. I have good old Shane and Joey. Joey, how you doing today, buddy?
Feeling good about this new intro, man. New intro, new music.
Look,
You
we're
know,
stepping it up, man. We're stepping it up. We're
we're
trying
we're
here.
finally figuring this thing out. As I said 2 weeks ago, we're starting to really figure it out.
Yeah, we're
Uh,
looking spiffy.
but I'm good, other than fantasy football that I don't want to talk about. But my opponent, on the other hand, will probably want to talk about, even though he just told me he took no pleasure in that game. Shane, how are you this weekend?
I'm doing well. I'm going to not talk about it. 8 days till Christmas. Hope you guys are ready for the holiday, and I'm ready to talk football.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. Joey, I'm right there with you. Two different leagues I'm out. So it's been a fun year. It's been a very frustrating year, but
I don't know if you've noticed, but we play each other in the consolation bracket for that league. It's you and me.
Oh, I've noticed, and I'm coming for fifth place.
Yeah, no. Sorry.
Position.
You may be coming for fifth place, but you ain't getting fifth place.
Oh, whoa, smack talk. I love it, man. I love it. But let's talk about some real football here. Kind of a mixed emotion kind of games, but Shane, why don't you tell us about how the Saints did this weekend?
Gritty game, in my opinion. I think that the team is, even though they've had injuries, is still likes this interim coach, Rizzi. You know, they had 8 sacks, I think. They did the best they could to contain a high-powered offense. You know, it still had flashes, but I love some people are questioning the 2-point conversion. I love the play. You're out of the playoffs. You're not playing for anything. You're either going to win that game like that or you lose and then you get into your draft position. So I like the way Rattler looked. He looked like he just had more presence in the pocket. I'm just not a Hayner fan. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but I just not for me. So, but fun game to watch. You know, I think we were downtown earlier that day, and there's a lot of Jaden Daniels jerseys out there. So
that's what happens when you win the Heisman.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
Like
Especially from here. Oh, I mean, for a team
LSU,
here.
yeah, right?
Yeah.
Joey,
Look,
what'd you think, buddy?
I'll be honest. Watching the way Rizzi was yelling at the referees and the passion that he had behind his arguments, I mean, I can see why these players want to win for him. And like Shane said, it was gritty. You know, Jake Hayner, as much as I wanted him to do well, it wasn't there. He had the offensive line to be able to be successful, but just couldn't get that success to show. So, you know, putting Rattler in, you know, you just say, hey, let's see what we got with this kid. And he showed that he can do well. Now, what doesn't help is Kamara going down and MVS going down. And so you got the skill players are starting to get injured and not the offensive line. So I didn't have a problem with the 2-point conversion. Go for broke. You know, that's the way that this game was. And, you know, I feel better about that loss than a lot of people do. Like, I've heard a lot of people sitting there, you know, bashing the 2-point conversion try. Hey, at least they tried, and they came within one play of winning it. So I'm totally okay with the way that they lost that game coming back.
Yeah, and kind of piggyback what you're saying about just the intensity and look, the injuries are going to come. I mean, they've been coming all season. All season we're down to what, wide receiver 5 and 6, now 6 and 7. It's guys that weren't even on our like preseason roster. That's going to happen. I do want to comment on the Jake Hayner starting. I was very confused with that from the start when I heard he was starting. Jake Hayner to me is Chase Daniels 2.0. And I don't mean any disrespect for that. You can make a lot of money, no disrespect to Chase Daniel, but he's not a starter in this league, right? He showed it on the field. There's no pocket presence. It's actually pretty creepy when you think about it. When you broke it down, I've saw something. It's like Jake Hayner went to Fresno State. He's like slightly shorter than Derek Carr, kind of has that same eyeliner thing as Derek Carr, and somebody goes, "Are we just trying to like just replicate Derek Carr back there, just with a slightly lesser version?" And it was pretty funny. I got a good chuckle out of that. He's just a backup. There was no pocket presence. He was scrambling around for his life when there was no pressure there. That pick he threw when he was trying to hit Kamara, absolutely awful. I mean, we all knew Spencer Rattler was coming in, and man, it was a spark that really just gave this team new life. And I give them all the credit in the world for fighting back. I want to shout out to Mario Davis. That guy's going to be 45 years old and still making tackles in the backfield on young athletic quarterbacks. I don't care. And I heard Matt Moscona say this, and I'm going to kind of piggyback off of it. He's slowly becoming one of my favorite Saints of all time. Like, he's really getting up there just for how hard he's playing on a 5-8 team. Kudos to him. Saints defense, 6 sacks, did exactly what you had to do. And I absolutely love the 2-point conversion call. What do you have to lose? Like, you have to win games to make the division. Like, yeah, okay, technically we're not mathematically eliminated, but we need Tampa to lose out and us to win out. It's a very small probability. So I like to call it. I know some people say on the road you only do that when you're on the road, but no, forget that. The way the season's gone, Rizzy's coaching for his job and a crack at this team. And I'll tell y'all what, guys, I've looked every single week of trying to be like, all right, we really shouldn't give it to this guy. I've mentioned on the previous week's episodes of saying, yeah, you don't want to be like the Raiders, though, get emotional victories, and all of a sudden you get this year that they're having now where the talent's just not there and he's not a good enough coach to raise him up. But, man, I just really like what he's doing with this roster, man. Like, we're competitive in games we shouldn't be competitive in. I don't know if y'all feel the same way, but I think we should definitely get a crack at the job.
I just feel like the Raiders are a dumpster fire of an organization, and that goes back to when they left LA and went to Oakland the most recent time. They can't find a home and stay there for an extended period of time. There's always that cloud over their head of, oh, we're leaving, we're going somewhere else. Well, a team that doesn't have a home, they don't have a mission. They don't have anything. So, yes, they're in Vegas, and that's where they're going to stay probably for the rest of the existence of the franchise. But
no. And look,
that's the only reason I say that this situation isn't like the Raiders situation where it's the emotional wins and all that. He's coaching for his job. He wants this job. And, unless they can talk him into, hey, we may not go your route on the head coaching spot yet, but we want you to stay in this organization, and they sweeten the deal to where it's okay that he stays. I want him here. He needs to stay here in black and gold somehow.
Look, if they're not changing Loomis out, then they just need to keep this guy for right now while they try to rebuild the roster. You're not going to get a high-profile coach, in my opinion. They're talking about Aaron Glenn. The guy I wanted, Vrabel, is probably going to go to the Jets with the old GM from Tennessee.
Yeah.
So Kingsbury's like leading the charge for the Bears. I'd be curious to see if any of these positions open up, but I don't see a lot of options. It's not an appealing job, so he likes it here. If Loomis isn't going to step out and let someone else come in and try to refresh the GM approach, then just let him stay here, because we're years away from like truly competing in there's some clear like juggernauts in the NFC, and we're not going to be able to compete with them and actually try to get to a Super Bowl.
I've heard honestly that the New England job may be open coming into this offseason. I don't think that they're going to have Mayo be the guy anymore. But it honestly depends, because Robert Kraft wants to keep that Patriot way in New England, see if it works, which in all honesty, it doesn't anymore.
You talk about for Vrabel going to New England?
Yeah, I honestly think, and if that job opens up, I think Vrabel would be one of the top guys to get that job. Although now you're saying that the GM for Tennessee might be going to the Jets.
Which, if I'm a Jets fan, this is the same guy that traded away A.J. Brown. I don't know how I feel about that. But two things. That I think Mayo gets one more year. I really do. You can't be well, I mean, you can and just admit you made a horrible mistake. But not many billionaires like to come out and eat crow. But he came in, like, when they hired him, they were like, oh, this was in place for 5 years. I've known he's going to be the head coach, that kind of thing. So I think Kraft's going to give him a little bit, but Joe, I've heard the same thing. I don't want to discredit that at all. I've definitely heard that there's some rumblings there, but I just think that Kraft is going to be like, especially the first one after Belichick. Yeah, you can't be like, oh, well, I messed up. Let me go do another one, right? Because then you start looking like disorganized as the owner.
Now, mind you, I'm hearing this from the Kirk Minahan show, so I don't know how true that is because there's a lot of things that guys within that bubble from that show, like one guy said that Juan Soto was definitely going to be a Red Sox, and he doubled down on it and was completely wrong.
It's an opinion. That's all, buddy. That's all.
Yeah, but it's the guy hit on a couple things, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But Kirk Minahan's been saying that he doesn't think Gerard Mayo is going to last. I think at best he might make it through halfway through next year, and then they change their mind and go somewhere else. But we'll see.
Well, I think like Tyler said, the Patriots had a plan to bring him in as the replacement coach, so they have to give him at least another year. Antonio Pierce was like an interim coach, and then they gave him another year. I could see him losing his job in Vegas, similar to like if Rizzy gets the job and the team doesn't look any better or fight like they're fighting now, he might be a one and done. I don't think our organization would do that, but I'd never put it past the Raiders to do it. So I would think that Antonio Pierce is more at risk.
Yeah, and I was just using that as an example. I think the second thing, Shane, I want to comment on the general manager kind of thing. I'm trying to not be as negative. Lord knows I've been a critic. Lord knows it. I don't know if we necessarily need to reinvent the wheel the way we do things. I do think there's how do I put this? I do think we need to rethink the way we do the contracts, especially in this rebuild that we're doing right now. But man, if we can just get back, and I said this last week, we need to get back to nailing draft classes. That's what we need to get back to. 2017s don't happen all the time. The Lattimore draft, the Kamara draft, but just to get some starters and some depth back. I think that's where we need to really focus our resources. Not so much plug in gaps with veterans, because we're not in that Super Bowl window anymore. Like you were saying, there's some juggernauts in the NFC. We need to replace it with young talent and rebuild like the Lions did.
Develop talent. I don't want any of these projects.
Speaking of projects, the donkey of the week, and I'm just going to say it now. The guy that has more penalties than games played or sacks. Freaking Peyton Turner.
I thought you were going to say Trevor Penning.
No, he sucks too. But my goodness. I know it's a ticky-tack call, but come on, man. What are you doing? That's all you're good for anyway, special teams. You barely play on defense. Can you at least know your role and not mess it up there? That's 3 points right there. That's a 4-point swing right there, and we lost the game by 1. That directly affects it. I'm sorry. I'm so over. Well, if he could just stay healthy, he'll be talented. No, screw that. I'm done with him. I'm done with Penning. He looks like a turnstile over at right tackle right now. He's a great run blocker. Can't pass block to save his life, though. And I'll digress. I'll let somebody else do this before my blood pressure gets too high.
I mean, the good thing is next year's his last year before he's an unrestricted free agent if they don't take the option.
They're not taking that option.
There's no way they're taking that option.
I will say this, talking about what you were saying about projects and developing talent, the comparison. You need the cap space. Right now, we don't have it. We're $78 million still over the cap for next year. And then it's not looking good the rest of the way. Right now, we're 30th in cap space in 2026, and then we're 24th in cap space in 2027. We need to work on next year and get that figured out and suffer through next year before we can even think about, getting talent from outside within the league. Like, we're going to have to definitely just build talent from the draft.
Yeah.
And
what I mean from develop talent, I mean, don't draft projects like Peyton Turner and Marcus Davenport. Draft guys who have been developed in college to play the position you draft them to play. Don't take a guy who can run a 40 fast and who has raw talent, because we don't have people to keep them healthy, for one. And then two, you need to draft guys who are like blue chip guys who know how to play the game, and you can plug them in. Because like you said, we have no cap till like 2028. So there's no light at the end of the tunnel right now. And if they keep kicking it down the road, the problem's just going to keep snowballing.
So there are different ways, and I totally agree with you. That we're kind of hamstrung with just going through the draft. There are different ways that we can finagle our way out of the cap. I know that they had there's discussions of there's some kind of way if you cut Derek Carr as a post June 1 cut, it may save a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see where they go. It's just more along the lines of, okay, I know we all are ready to kind of turn the page on Derek Carr and everything. Realistically, though, and I'm looking at somebody as outside in, and I've been one of the biggest Carr critics. Outside in, he may be your best option, and realistically, he's kind of on a deal if he's only getting paid $30 million. You know what I mean? So if you got to bite the bullet for one more year with that, it may just be a reality we have to face. You know, instead of trying to. Now, I wouldn't be opposed to, like, let's say, drafting somebody in the second round, a quarterback wise, and have them as a project or developmental piece. But I want to see what we have in Rattler down the way. But I think that we may be stuck with Carr for one more year as a bridge quarterback.
I'd say that I think we got him stuck for 2 years because if we cut him in after 2025, that's $40 million in dead money that we have to pay. So the team can void the contract in 27. I think
we'll see.
We deal with it while we got it, and then in the next 2 years we draft a quarterback and develop him behind Derek Carr.
Yeah, I mean they've played their way out of probably being in the top 5. So to me, you take the best lineman on the defensive or offensive side. That's how you rebuild the team, is through the line. You know, unless there's like a solid playmaker that drops, but
I was about to say wide receiver is going to be a big need.
So we'll see. But
yeah,
what else is going on in the NFL besides the tragic scenes?
Well, look, to kind of wrap up the Saints thing. Look, it was a roller coaster of emotion. I was so mad that first half because I'm like, oh, here we go, 28-0 boat race. Here we come, right down the pipeline, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, wait, Rattler's got something going. And then we got momentum. And just at the end, look, I'm proud of them. They fought. They held a really good team down. That's all I'm going to say about the Saints. Joe, is there anything else you want to say before we move on?
They're going to keep fighting. Like, it's until that standings have an E next to their name, they're going to keep fighting. And then after that, it's, okay, let's see what we got with this team to see who's still going to have a job next year, who's going to be looking for another team, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I agree.
Now they are officially eliminated after Sunday, right?
After Sunday, yes. Not this past game. This Sunday coming.
If the Buccaneers win another game, I think we're eliminated. I don't think we can get a wild card. I think we can only win the division, which is wild.
I will confirm that.
Yeah. But so speaking of guys that have been in the Saints organization, and Shane brought one up from the team I want to talk about next. We got the Detroit Lions. Now, you talk about a fun game. That game against the Bills, 48-42. My goodness, I thought they were out of it, completely out of it, until they just come storming back. There's a few things I want to talk about, and I'm going to have a main topic, but caps off to Josh Allen. My goodness, that man, he's wrapping up MVP. Like he has taken his. Now that's a developmental player that was developed correctly. Like, he has to be up there in the conversation of best quarterbacks in the league. But the main thing I want to talk about is there was a call by Dan Campbell to kick an onside kick with 12 minutes left. And for those who don't know or might be thinking, well, what's wrong with that? You surprise them. Oh, no, you can't. You have to declare when you're kicking an onside kick now with the new kick rules. So, y'all, with the situation the way it was, Shane, I'll get your opinion on this first. Is Dan Campbell getting a little too dicey with his play management, right? Or his situation management?
I mean, that's who he is. So, like, if you're expecting him all of a sudden after being coaching, I think for 3 years, to throttle down and be some reserve coach, that's not him. And the problem is he's made plenty of those calls that have worked out, and he goes for it on fourth and he's aggressive, and everyone loves it when it works. I mean, do I agree with going with it at 12 minutes to go? No, but that you're trying to keep Josh Allen off the field. If he's the MVP, your defense is decimated with injuries. You have to try to do something to help your defense out. Your offense is going up and down the field as well. You know, if it would have worked, this wouldn't have been a conversation. The problem is it didn't work. So if they're healthy, to me, they're the best overall roster in the NFL, in my opinion, if their defensive players are healthy. I think the fact that they're banged up is gonna hurt them down the stretch. But I have no problem with the play call because that's who he is. It's just like when to go back to what we talked about with the Saints, when Mickey Loomis restructures a contract and kicks it down the road. No one's surprised because that's what he's done for years.
Yeah.
I mean, Dan Campbell's going to make calls like that. If they work, he's a hero. If not, he gets criticized for it. But I don't have a problem. I like him as a coach. So,
yeah, for sure, man. Joey, what is your take on the subject?
You got to try. I mean, it's like Shane said. Did everybody think he was just going to change the way that he coached? No, he has been like this his entire coaching career. Especially when you're down, what was it? Down 10 with 12 minutes left?
At that point, yes.
Buffalo's the kind of team that can sit there and do a 9-minute drive, that could take their time and just articulate the ball a little bit down the field. So, he felt he needed that to be done, and he did it. Look at how many times he's gone for it on fourth down where it's not necessarily needed to go for it on fourth down, and he does it anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
He's a coach that's fun to watch, and like Shane said, when this team's healthy, that's the team to beat in the NFL. Unfortunately, David Montgomery out for the year, and a couple other injuries on the defensive side is not going to help them at all.
No, definitely losing Montgomery is going to put a big burden on an offense. Just because, I don't know if I think he can, but I'm not sold yet that Gibbs can be that every down back. Like what I mean in that situation is just the way they run their offense, right? It's very running back centric. If he's going to be a focal point, it's a big beating he's going to take down the stretch. But we'll see. And he's very talented back. But I agree with y'all. I'm playing contrarian. I guess people were kind of thinking like, hey, what happened last year in San Francisco, right? When they essentially had the NFC Championship game locked up or dang near locked up, and he went for fourth down instead of kicking a field goal. I think that's the one thing that people are going to keep questioning about him, but I completely agree with y'all that that's who he is. When it works, it's great. Just I'm hoping that it works out for him in one of these playoff situations, you know what I mean? Like big primetime thing, so he can get that label taken off of him because he is a great coach. Everything he's done in Detroit that had been a dumpster fire before he got there. I mean, you can't fault the man, and I think he's probably if not the best head coach, one of the best head coaches in the NFL.
I know one thing, he don't give a damn because he was on Detroit radio today and he had a very animated pep talk with the radio guy about the injuries and all that stuff.
Nice.
But it's a culture thing. Dan Campbell has gone in and changed the culture of Detroit and the Lions to help them realize that they can win. They can do these things. They can make it to the conference championship games. They can compete for division titles and all that and have home field advantage in the playoffs. You didn't have that in any team really in Detroit before that. So I like what he's doing. I hope that he can win a Super Bowl with Detroit. I think that city as fans deserve it.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see. But my thing is this. Does the result and everything that happened in this game, does that make them less of a favorite in the NFC, or are they still established as the favorite for the Super Bowl?
Well, me personally, I don't have them as my favorite right now.
Not to win the Super Bowl, to make it.
No, to make it from the NFC.
Okay.
And we'll talk about who I think is going to come out next. I mean, in a few minutes, but I definitely think they're top two. It's just the injuries to me. If they were healthy, they would be my number one team. I just don't think
the Super Bowl that could unite America, Bills versus Lions.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. We have talked about this. We have talked about this since like week 8. Like, we're like,
Yes.
It's like Amy sent me something the other day. The Super Bowl we all want, and it was the Super Bowl we'll probably get, which was the Chiefs and the Eagles, which no one wants.
no.
Could very well happen, but no one wants it.
No, because my wife keeps saying that, oh, well, maybe if the Chiefs make it to the Super Bowl here, Taylor Swift will get proposed to. And I'm like, I really have no interest in that.
Nope.
Whatsoever. I don't care. Like,
But
it's whatever.
But I'm glad, Shane, I'm glad you said that. So kind of leads right into my next subject. With that being said, we're talking about injuries on the line side. Look, I know the Bills have gotten some guys back, but I mean they're suffering with injuries too. I'll ask you all this question because the Bills defense has been horrendous lately. Has not been good. But Josh Allen has been that good. Is Josh Allen playing at a high enough level to cover up their deficiencies and carry them to a Super Bowl that they haven't won in franchise history? Okay. So
It's a simple, yeah. And for those listening on
So
Spotify,
everybody-
that's us nodding our head yes.
so I'll just
An
go for
absolute
everybody.
yes. Absolutely.
Has this been some of the best quarterback play you've seen in like a good bit? Like I don't want to be hyperbolic. I don't want to say, "Oh my gosh, the greatest I've ever seen," because I've seen some good quarterback play. But my goodness.
Let's see. I had a stat. Let me pull it
Okay.
up.
Yeah, why are you pulling that up? It's
I'll
just
say this.
Mhm.
I think that, Josh Allen has proven that he is clearly the MVP of the year. When you're throwing touchdown passes to yourself, it's
such a fun stat.
that's you can't help but smile at that.
But like,
He's gonna win it. Like there's
100%.
unless somehow the entire voting public just seems to think that this is 2025 and they put Travis Hunter's name on it. It's going to be Josh Allen.
Yeah, I know. Oh no, I think he's locked up MVP for sure. I think now it's just a question of can he keep this up for I don't know
2 more weeks. He really just needs to do it for 2 more weeks.
I'm not talking about. I'm talking about him carrying the Super Bowl.
Oh well, yeah, but
Can he
the
keep that
MVP, he just needs to get it till next week.
Yeah. Shane, you find that stat or you're still looking for
It was like since he got engaged from Haley Steinfeld, he's gone for like it just has gone God mode since he locked that beautiful woman up.
See, this is why you tune in for stats like
Yeah.
that.
The stat that I did read, because they were talking about the MVP race, is that Saquon has been tackled on the 1 yard line 11 times. And so if he wasn't with the Eagles, he would have 11 more touchdowns because they've done the tush push every time, and Jalen Hurts has got it. But because I think if he has those touchdowns, he's in play for it with Lamar. And I don't think they're giving Jared Goff enough credit. But if Josh Allen keeps playing like this, he'll win the MVP, and the Chiefs haven't looked great. I think that he could smoke everybody in the AFC.
Yeah. I mean, he's played out of his mind. I mean, look, we'll go shout out Lamar, 5 touchdown passes. By the way, definitely we're trying to pad his stats. Just saying. Lamar, definitely. I just don't think we also gotta play in the narrative as well. I think people, how to put this? Last year, Lamar won it with not as good of stats. So I think people are now like, well, we can't give it to him again, even if he's got monster stats. Like he kind of got to give you last year, right?
Here's a stat for Josh Allen.
All right,
and the
go ahead,
Bills
Joe.
for that matter. Josh Allen is the first player in NFL history to have 3 passing touchdowns and 3 rushing touchdowns in a game, and they still lost.
Yep.
So
the other stat for Josh Allen,
that was December 8th, by the way.
He passed O.J. Simpson, who had like 61 rushing touchdowns, who's in the Hall of Fame for Bills, and then he passed Terrell Davis. He has more rushing touchdowns than Terrell Davis had in his whole career, and he's a quarterback. He has 60. Well, now he has like 65. So he's like basically working himself to like a first ballot Hall of Famer easily.
Oh, that's definitely the trajectory. I mean, you look at the Bills roster, right? He is essentially their power running back right now. I know they drafted Ray Davis to kind of take that load off a little bit as well. But I mean,
shout out University of Kentucky, baby.
That is very true. But like, look at the last game against the Lions. Dude, it was Ty Johnson and James Cook, like two shifty guys, and then he's running at the goal line. Like,
Yeah.
Joe Brady's going to get some consideration as a head coach. I think it's an interesting name to throw out for the Saints. Just saying. But yeah, so now let's kind of segue through here to a team that we're talking about the Lions before. Here's my pick for the best team in the NFC. That's going to be the Eagles. They beat the Steelers. I mean, it kind of dominated them, to be honest with you. I think they're the best team in the NFC. Y'all both said that. Do y'all still hold that? Do y'all still think that the Lions are, even with the injuries, or you think the Eagles have overtaken them?
I'll take this one first.
Yeah, Joe, you go ahead.
No, they have not overtaken the Lions because, in my honest opinion, the tush push is not as sound as it has been in the past, which that was their bread and butter. It's just something about, I look at Philadelphia and it's, yes, they're good. Yes, they're beating teams, but I guess it's that beginning of the year where they played, Falcons and Bucks and they lost, that it just kind of, that's over my head a little bit. It's the teams that are kind of that mid-level team that will make the playoffs. Are they going to be able to beat them the second go round? Are they going to struggle? Plus, it all depends on these next three divisional matchups. Yes, it's against the Cowboys. Yes, it's against the Giants. But typically, that's when stuff starts to kind of go wrong. They got the Commanders this week. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. So, but I don't think the Eagles are better than the Lions.
They have all the talent in the world on that roster. They also have nothing but a bunch of hotheads and a coach who, in my opinion, still does not have the locker room. You have him trying to shout at Jalen Carter, who keeps being dirty in the game. He's trying to be an Ndamukong Suh. And you have a defensive coach, and whoever the guy is that keeps getting in trouble, who looks like he's from The Sopranos, blocking the head coach from talking to one of his players. That's a huge problem to happen and unfold on national television. They tried to overplay and blow past any kind of A.J. Brown stuff. So the problem with that team is coaching, whereas the Steelers, in my opinion, have the best coach in the league in Tomlin, and he's made a lot out of not. If you switch the coaches in Pittsburgh in that state, I would say the Eagles could walk away with the NFC. But I still think they're going to implode because their coach has lost that team. So that team's reckless. It's going to get into problems. I'd feel more comfortable saying that the Bucks, I would take the Bucks and the Lions over them. I just think they fall apart.
Ooh, okay.
They're playing in a shitty division. I mean, the Commanders have been playing above their field, but the Giants and the Cowboys are terrible. They're going to run into better talent in the playoffs. And if they don't stay on top of the game, all those players lose their cool, and the coach can't rein them in. You got assistants blocking him from talking to people. So I think they have all the talent in the world. I think they're going to be their own worst enemy.
So, Shane, here's my question to you on that situation where the coach doesn't have the locker room. At what point, as the GM or the owner, do you look at that and say, okay, we need to make a change?
If he doesn't win the Super Bowl, I think he's gone. I think he's gone. He has to win the Super Bowl to keep his job.
So
he's had too many problems over the last couple of years.
So it's win the Super Bowl or lose your job, in your opinion.
In my opinion, I think they would shake things up. They have the GM is one of the best in the game, and he's built nothing but talent on the roster on both sides, and they keep infighting in the team, and it's just too much drama.
So completely agree with the coaching aspect and how that can be an issue. Jalen Carter, can be a definite issue. But I'm going to disagree with y'all that they when they run into better competition, they're going to have issues. I mean, they dog raced the freaking Ravens last week, right? Am I forgetting that?
24-19.
Well,
it wasn't that close. It was like
That's not a dog race to me.
Okay.
A dog race is like
when they played the Cowboys and they won 34-6.
It was like 24-8 at one point. Like it was it wasn't as close to the score. Okay, well, they beat the Ravens, who we can objectively say is a good team, right? Contending in the AFC. I just think we're not giving them enough credit. Look, Tampa scares me with Tampa's offense is amazing, one of the best in the NFL. Their defense scares the crap out of me. That just throwing that one out there. But the Lions, I want the Lions to make the Super Bowl. I want them to play the Bills easily. Could say that. I think that at the end of the day, they're not going to have the bodies to stop Saquon if it came down to a one-on-one matchup with the Eagles, right? Because the Eagles, what they're doing now is just basically beating you into submission with Saquon, and then just once you stack the box to stop him, then they're just going to let the wide receivers go. So they're starting to hit their stride now. Devonta Smith is healthy, but I will give y'all 100% agree with y'all that the coaching can definitely be the downfall and be the issue. And I agree that the attitudes too could be a problem. But talent-wise, like Shane said, one of the best in the NFL. I just think that they're on a mission this time. I think the players are more than anything. It's kind of like Miami was when they had Larry Coker as the coach, right? It's like, we're this good, we just need a chaperone so we can play.
I don't think Nick Sirianni's that chaperone for them, though.
And that's fair.
They have taken over the Lions to be favorites to win the conference at plus 185.
Yeah,
according to ESPN bet. But like Shane said, I forgot that Nick Sirianni does not have the locker room. I completely forgot about that. There were times where him and the quarterback couldn't be in the same room during meetings, which you can't have that as the NFL head coach.
No.
I think I want to see what happens when things start to go wrong. Especially in the playoffs. Like if they have to survive a wild card round matchup, like what does that entail for the team? Like, what do they look like coming out of that? Are they yelling at each other, fighting on the sideline? Is the bouncer for the head coach for the Philadelphia Eagles going to jump in and try to separate him from players? Like, what is that going to look like when things start to go wrong? I feel like we've seen that with Detroit this past week, where it's like, okay, hey, we need to, injuries haven't helped them, but they still fought. They still they got it to within a possession. You can't. I don't see the Eagles doing that with their current locker room, setup that they are, the temperature in the locker room. I just don't see it.
So they lost to the Falcons.
Yes.
Lost to the Saints this year.
No, they beat the Saints.
No, they beat
the Saints.
Oh, but beat the Saints by 3 points. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Lost to the Buccaneers, which they also lost to the Buccaneers in the playoffs last year. Barely beat the Browns. They beat the Giants. That's okay. They beat the Bengals. They barely beat the Jaguars. Beat the Cowboys. Terrible team. Barely beat the Commanders. Did a good job against the Rams.
Good team.
I mean, barely
that
beat
Ravens game. That Ravens game, it was 14-10 at half. No, 14-12 at half. And then
I could be completely wrong.
They scored,
I just felt like
they scored 10 unanswered before a last-second touchdown from.
Oh, okay, so it wasn't double. Okay.
It wasn't double digit. It was 24-19.
No. Before the
they barely beat the
touchdown.
Panthers.
Yeah.
I'll give you the Panthers one. That was just their looking ahead game to the Steelers. I'll give you that one.
The great teams figure out ways to stay consistent and win. I just think they're a good team.
I mean, and I completely agree with you. But when you're signing guys off the street at week 16 to play for you, it's just tough. I'm not saying it can't be done. It's just tough. And now, if I'm betting, I'm putting my money on the Eagles. That's all I'm saying.
If I'm betting right now, I'm putting my money on an AFC team at that point.
Well, he's talking for the NFC.
I'm talking about the NFC.
Yeah, for NFC, then yeah. But for the Super Bowl, it'd be that other conference.
Well, I'll tell you. Speaking of the other conference, I'll tell you one team I'm not putting my money on. That's the Steelers. Speaking of like them playing, they played the Eagles and lost. I think this team is just smoke and mirrors. And if they're not able to basically out defensive you to win, it's just they're not going to outscore you. Like, and that's blatantly obvious because good Lord, you talk about taking away George Pickens, who, don't get me wrong, is a top 15 wide receiver in this league. But man, that offense was just devastated. this last week. So
That team's winning on pure coaching.
yeah, no, 100%. That's what I'm saying. I just don't think
And
they have the
like
talent.
you said, defense. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's just my opinion. Mr. Unlimited is doing better this year, but it's all smoke and mirrors in my opinion. You got anything to say about the Steelers, Joey?
They're fourth in odds to make the Super Bowl in the AFC at 13-1.
Yeah.
I think they can. I think that'll be, if there's a surprise team that'll make the conference championship, it would be them.
I can see that.
But I don't think they're going to make the Super Bowl. I will say this: I think it's better than where they thought they would be at this point. You know, I'm sure a lot of fans were sitting there looking like maybe it'll be Justin Fields' team, or you know, maybe we have to suffer. Maybe we have to suffer through this season with Russell Wilson just to see what we got. But they haven't. They've done really well with what they have. You know, if you're a Steelers fan, you're excited for this season. Do you still want them to win the Super Bowl? Absolutely. But, you know, if you come out of this season, you make it to the AFC Championship game and lose, that's a successful season for you.
Yeah.
That's something to build for next year. You know, whether that's figure out your quarterback. Is it a different quarterback? Is Russell Wilson back? It remains to be seen. But you still got the Ravens. I see Shane shaking his head.
Yeah, that's what I'm sorry.
But it'll be tough because they have the Ravens away this week, and then on Christmas Day they have the Chiefs, and then on the final week of the season they have the Bengals, which their record doesn't match the talent they have on that team. So we'll see.
The only thing Russell Wilson has done good in the past 10 years is marry Ciara, because she's a babe. Okay. The Steelers aren't playing Justin Fields because if he doesn't play a certain percentage, the pick goes from a 3 to a 5. So that's all they're doing. They're letting him learn the offense. They've sprinkled him in. They had to let Russell Wilson play. So they're playing like chess out there with that. But I think they'll be one and done in the playoffs. Watt's hurt. That was the heartbeat of their defense.
Yep.
But shout out Ciara. I love you.
So real quick, Coach of the Year, it's Mike Tomlin?
I think so.
Man.
If it's not him, it's Dan Campbell.
Yeah. I would think it's not Nick Sirianni, I'll tell you that.
No. Yeah, it's something about.
Yeah. I mean, what about the Commanders coach?
I mean, Dan Quinn's got to be thrown up there, you know. It's an interesting conversation to have, right? Like, are we going to go with the biggest turnaround, the coach of the best team, or the best record, or
if
best
I had a vote, it would go to Robert Saleh because he had to deal with Aaron Rodgers' ass all year and got fired for it.
Not all year because he didn't make it all year.
I mean, that's Mike Tomlin has dealt with Le'Veon Bell. Wasn't a problem when he was under him. Antonio Brown wasn't a problem. Deontay Johnson can't even play for the Ravens because they're all head cases, but somehow Tomlin knows how to keep them in check.
But I love how they just like trade him away, and then all of a sudden they just like completely devolve, right? Like it's like jeez.
I feel like there's some kind of like magic spell that happens when you leave. If you're a star player that leaves the Steelers, it's just like you will not work anymore. You will not. You will go crazy. You'll lose your mind. CTE will start to set in tomorrow.
Whoa.
Hey, his AB's Twitter handle is CTESPN.
Like, no, I know. So, Shane, I'm glad you said brought up Le'Veon Bell and all those great examples because going from them to another locker room headache will just be nice here. I want to talk about last Thursday's game. Devondre Campbell, you know, a veteran of this league, pretty well known, and I see y'all shaking y'all's head, and rightfully so. This man quit on his team, refused to go in. I mean,
you knew who this dude was before last week?
Yes,
I'd never heard of this guy. Never heard of him.
So he started off in Atlanta. You know, he's a solid off-ball. He's a solid like right outside linebacker, good in coverage, that kind of thing. So and pretty solid against the run, but more pass coverage than anything. Played in Atlanta for a long time. I would say about 4 or 5 years. Then went to he was in Green Bay. I mean, got paid by Green Bay like a good bit. I want to say like a 5-year.
Well,
somewhere in the range.
He saved some of that money because if I'm a team, I'm not touching.
No shot.
No shot.
So for context, for those who don't know, he was signed basically to be the replacement for Drake Greenlaw while he was getting recovering from that Achilles tear. I'm sorry, Achilles tear from the Super Bowl, which is still one of the weirdest injuries I've ever seen. Why you don't get in a sprinter stance to go out in the field. Anyway, so basically, Greenlaw's healthy. He comes back there, and Campbell goes to the bench. Well, in the third quarter, Greenlaw starts getting knee tightness, or I think it was, or knee soreness, something like that. And they tell Campbell to go in, and he's like, "Nah, dude, I'm good." And all of a sudden, at the end of the third quarter, you just see him walk into the locker room. I mean, Kittle, Ward. I mean, pretty much everybody on the 49ers basically just crapped on this dude. Kyle Shanahan crapped on him too, which I thought the postgame was hilarious. But y'all, I wanted to know if y'all saw this though. Basically, they're like, "Hey, you're not going to pull a LeGarrette Blount in 2014 and basically act the fool, and we cut you and you go sign with the team you want. We're going to suspend you, figure out how to get you suspend you without pay, and figure out how to get your signing bonus back that you signed with us. Because basically, it's a giant middle finger that you did to us, and we're going to give one right back at you. That's probably thicker and a lot bigger than you thought it was going to be." So
as they should.
Shane, I'll let you go first. Go ahead.
As they should. That dude doesn't belong on an NFL roster. I know you guys, I'm a little way too old school. I didn't like what Jameis did last year. But this dude just refusing to go in, refusing to be a teammate. And you just cost yourself money. Hopefully you saved it because, I mean, a team as dysfunctional as the Jets wouldn't touch this dude. Because no one's going to want to play with him.
No. Like, you can't. Like, when you get to this level, these guys are essentially warriors, right? Like, when chances are one of your guys is going to get severely injured during the game, and then you have this guy being like, "Yeah, no, dude, I'm not playing since y'all benched me," and basically throwing a temper tantrum. Bye. Like you said, bye. Screw you.
Yeah.
Joey?
Yeah, you can't. Like, in the public eye that you're in like that, you cannot do anything like that. That's for this guy to just sit there, have, hey, go win your job back. That's essentially what that is. Go either win that job back or, show yourself that you could do good with another team that'll sign you. To do that, he's done. I just read the report. His locker is empty. His nameplate is gone. So they basically cut him without cutting him.
Yep.
That's cancer type moves on a team.
100%.
That's not anything. And like you said, if I'm a GM and I saw that, and his agent comes calling and all that, no, we're not interested. I don't care how bad I need somebody at that position. I am not interested. I am not touching that at all. It's embarrassing to him. I heard that John Lynch actually ended up going on the field during the game to confront him about it. And he didn't
walk off the field. They walked him off the field.
Well, he was escorted off the field.
Yeah.
My apologies for the framing of that. Yes.
They
escorted him off the field. Yeah.
They escorted that dude out the club.
And then the last little thing I want to talk about the NFL is Patrick Mahomes picked up an injury. I don't know about y'all, but the early reports I've heard it's not suspected to be major.
Is it the same ankle as last year?
That's a great question. Is it?
Yeah, I don't know. I know it's mild because I have him in
important stuff.
I have to make a decision whether playing Herbert, who's also hurt, Thursday, see if Mahomes is going to play, or start the lovable Cooper Rush in a quarterfinal matchup in football.
As somebody that started multiple people on a Thursday night game last week, don't do it. Don't do it. There's just Thursday night voodoo that will suck the soul out of your team.
I mean, the good thing if you start Cooper Rush, they're playing Carolina. So
no, they played him this past week.
No, hold on. That's the wrong week. Give me a second.
I mean, Shane will happily take those numbers that Cooper Rush put up against him this week.
They're playing Tampa.
It's a Sunday night game, so you get to watch him.
It's Rush time, baby.
So,
and they're at home.
So how about y'all want to talk a little bit college?
Sure.
Yeah. let's talk a little college now because we got some big events starting this week. We have the college football playoff matchups. 12-team playoff starting this week, starting Friday.
Yes.
I'm just gonna we're not gonna dive real deep into it, but I want to highlight one matchup that I think I can see upset alert happening. I'm gonna say it now. Clemson over Texas. That's where I'm going. Number one right now is I think Clemson's on a roll right now. They've caught fire, and Dabo knows how to win in the postseason. Something's off with Texas. I mean, they should have beaten Georgia, and I don't want to take anything away from Georgia, but I'm calling upset alert here. Is there anything y'all want to touch on? Any matchups that kind of stick out to y'all? Shane, what about you, buddy?
No, that was one that was sticking out to me. I just think Texas has just gotten lucky this year, you know, and I think they might be buying their own hype, like you said. I think Clemson's better coached. I always like watching the teams that normally aren't in it. You know what I'm saying? Just like we're talking about with the Super Bowl. Yeah. I like Detroit and Bills. I like a little chaos. If LSU's not in it, I like seeing seeing SMU go far, or Arizona State, or I forgot who.
Boise State.
Boise State's another one. Yeah.
Indiana.
Yeah.
Indiana.
You know, so, Boise State, whose running back got robbed at a Heisman. Yeah,
easy there, Killer. We're getting to it. We're getting to it.
Robbed. I brought the receipts.
We're okay. Just easy for a second, Joey, please, before Shane just absolutely loses it on this one. What's your thoughts on this? I want to hear what you have to say, buddy.
So truly, your Clemson-Texas game would be an upset because right now Texas is favored by 12. It is happening in Austin, so it's going to be interesting to see these first-round matchups at college stadiums. I got an alert from Bleacher Report, and it was college football playoff patch on a Texas jersey, and I looked at it, and it just something about playing in games that have a patch on it is just that little bit more important. You know, the Sugar Bowl, the national championship, all that kind of stuff. And it says first round playoff or quarter, something like that, like first round, whatever. It was cool to see. Yeah. Not on a Texas jersey though, but they're going to go with their home oranges. They like their road whites better. But again, like we said, it's at home. I'm looking forward to that SMU Penn State matchup as well. I'm like Shane. I like to see chaos. I like to see schools that aren't necessarily meant to be there being there. The Indiana Notre Dame game has my attention because Notre Dame trying to say that they're always good enough that they should be in the talks for a spot for the national title. Here's your time. Put up or shut up. Boise State always trying ever since that game against Oklahoma. It's, hey, we just want a shot. We want a shot. Well, here's your shot. It took this much time, and to get to 12 teams. But I'm excited. I cannot wait for this college football playoff to happen.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I'm excited to see. Two other things I want to touch on. Ryan Day. If they don't start putting it together, I mean, can you imagine if they start getting booed? Like if they get to a slow start, can you imagine the home team getting booed off the field?
They did last week.
That's what I'm saying. Like in the college football playoff,
week. They did in their last game against Michigan.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, can you imagine if they start booing them? Like that's going to be nuts to see. And then, secondly, I've heard some rumblings that James Franklin, this is a big game for him. Penn State head coach.
I could see it
because he has that stigma that now, granted, they played Oregon pretty tough, but they have that stigma of you can't win the big one. So, Joey, if you allow me, and if Shane's ready, unless there's something else you want to add to this subject here.
I do have one more thing. I do want to shout out.
Yeah.
I do want to shout out Boise State for making it and being one of the top 4 seeds. Yes, the conference championship gets you an automatic bid for a top 4 seed. I believe that is how that should happen.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it values conference champions over, hey, we just did good during the season. to get to a point where we need to be in the top 4.
Yeah, no, you can't. You got to have a value to the.
I am
conversation.
perfectly fine with this. The way it is, Boise State deserves to have a bye. Arizona State deserves to have a bye.
Yeah.
Again, if we change anything, just to nitpick, it's get the 5th conference champion to be a host for that first round game, but it's a small nitpick. I'm excited. I can't wait for this. The more I think about it, the way that this format is, we could have the Sugar Bowl and the Rose Bowl, because I want to say those 2 bowl games are going to be paired together at all times, are not going to be on New Year's Day, either next year or the year after that. They're going to be on like the January 9th or 10th. So that's going to be really weird to see in the next couple years. They're not going to move the playoff back just for those 2 games.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I guess to me, it's not that big of a deal not to have them on.
College football to me is about the traditions, and that's one of the big traditions is New Year's Day.
Yeah, but honestly, bro, how many traditions have already been like kind of just thrown out the window? So at this point, tradition isn't
like picking the correct Heisman winner.
All right, Joey.
I guess we're going to talk about that now.
Yeah, we are. We're just gonna. Shane is chomping at the bit. He has waited patiently. Shane, take the floor.
All right, I'm just going to read some stats, right? So Reggie Bush in 2005 was this electric player, ran away with the Heisman, right?
Yes.
Pretty handedly. So him and Ashton both played 13 games. He carried the ball, Reggie Bush, for 200. Ashton carried it for 344. Reggie Bush had 1,740 yards. Ashton had 2,497. 16 rushing touchdowns to 29 rushing touchdowns for Ashton. 7.3 yards per carry is the only category that Reggie Bush had him beat on. And he had him out yarded per game by 60 yards. So Reggie Bush, 133. Ashton, 192. I just need an explanation on why this dude. I mean, is it because of Deion and all the hype? And it's Travis Hunter? I mean, Travis Hunter played 2 positions. The position that he really got the Heisman for is not the position he's going to play in the NFL. He's going to play cornerback. So you gave the Heisman winner for basically receiving, based on his receiving. He had a good cornerback year.
I was about to say, let's not discourage that. Let's not discount that.
He had a good cornerback year, but how many cornerbacks have won a Heisman?
So, Joey,
corners?
Joey, I'm going to ask you, may I take this one?
Go for it.
Okay.
Go for it, because I'm going to be honest. I think the way that he played both sides of the ball is like, hey, nobody's doing that now. It's not like he was like okay at one side and he was decent at the other. He did really good on both sides of the ball. So, in my opinion, it's the fact that he was able to play the football game on both sides of the ball and make an impact on both sides of the ball. That's what got him that trophy.
Where's Colorado play in the college football playoffs? What game are they playing?
They're not.
Okay.
Man, I really wanted to
but,
say
okay.
No, yeah, they are. They're playing the
They're not playing in the college football
playoff? No.
But with that argument, Jaden Daniels didn't play in the college football playoff last year.
All right, hold on. I'm gonna stop you right there.
Those
numbers Jaden Daniels put up were unworldly.
And I'm not disagreeing with that, but I'm saying if you're going to use the college football playoff as one of your arguments,
yeah, for a Boise State versus Colorado player, absolutely not an SEC player who's doing it against the best talent in the country.
What about the 2022 Caleb Williams?
I don't think he deserved it.
Year.
Yeah, I don't think he deserved it. I don't think Caleb. I've said this multiple times. Caleb Williams is overhyped. He overhypes himself. He's looked lost out there this year. This guy has taken a program that doesn't get the talent and doesn't have the hype and got him to the 4th seed in the college football playoffs. And Colorado's just flashy and has a flashy coach and has a lot more attention on him. I get he plays 2 ways. There's players who have played 2 ways in the past who haven't won a Heisman.
I just think he's done well enough on both sides of the ball. The total of both sides of the ball added up to beat those numbers. I don't disagree that Ashton Jeanty should have it should have been closer. Or
I mean, it
we'll
was
have
close.
this discussion now.
It
But-
was a. So I'm going to say that I think that's what caught me more than anything is actually how close it was. Because if you believe in the media, Travis Hunter was running and betting books in the books. Travis Hunter was running away with it. Genty was it made it a lot closer than it had any right to be with the vote.
So I'll ask this question: if you're drafting next year, and both of those guys are available, who would you take?
Travis Hunter, 10 out of 10.
Depends on what I need, honestly.
Positional value. No, either way. 10 out of 10 times. Because running back, I hate to say it, like truly great ones, yeah. And I think Genty's going to be great. This is no slight towards him whatsoever. I want to make that clear. So I think he's going to be a great Dallas Cowboy. It just makes too much sense. Anyway, but I digress.
Running backs, they just
Thank you. Running
you don't
backs
get
just
as
aren't
much. You don't get as many
value.
years at running back that you do at corner or wide receiver.
And
that's
just the way the NFL is going now, the running backs are starting making a swing back up. I just think that that's just my opinion. There's just times when you have to realize special talent for what it is. I don't know if he's gonna be as fast as Deion, but you got to put him in that same category. Just special.
I do not have him anywhere near Deion Sanders at all.
Athletic-wise.
And I've watched him. I don't think he's as great as everyone thinks he is.
And that's fair, dude. Everybody's entitled to their opinion.
So did
I
y'all
was
see that?
curious to see how that guy is going to pair up. You're going to play him at cornerback, and guys like DK Metcalf and Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase will walk all over him, I think.
Well, DK's got the physical advantage. I'll give you that one, but so does a lot of guys.
Did y'all by
I
chance
actually-
see the results?
Yeah, no, that's why
Like
that's why
the
I was saying it
official
was so
results?
close. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at them now, and it wasn't even 200 points between the two.
No, that's what I
Travis
was saying.
Hunter had 552 first place votes. Genty had 309 first place votes. Travis Hunter had 261 second place votes. Genty had 517 second place votes. So a lot of the people who thought a few of the people who thought Travis Hunter should have won didn't even have Genty number 2.
Well, part of the problem is I look at this a little bit differently. Like same thing at the MVP. If you pull Genty off his team, are they playing in the college football playoffs? Whereas, if you pull Travis Hunter off of his team, are they in about the same position they're in right now?
Let me tell you what it is. And I'm going to be blatantly honest. We can beat our head against the wall about positional value, stats, and everything like that. Like I said with the MVP, narrative plays a huge role into these awards. And he started getting Heisman hype last year with his play. And this year, you got to give him credit. He did step it up. I mean, look, let's not discount that he didn't have a good receiving year. He had 92 receptions, 1,100 yards, and 14 touchdowns. Like, that's nothing to stick your nose up at, right? Do I think he's the best wide receiver in the draft? No. He may be the best corner. I'll give you that one. But I think he's going to give it a shot at playing both sides of the ball, but probably end up at corner. But
They might put him at punt returner
well, that too. Yeah, I think
or
that goes
kick
with
returner,
territory.
something like that.
They're
I
just
just think it's funny. Like Caleb Williams wins a Heisman, and the hype continues for him. He didn't look good. He still goes first overall. The Heisman winner, and it's not an LSU bias. Jaden Daniels looked better than him on the field and looked like a better quarterback. And teams buy the hype, like you said. They're buying the hype on Caleb Williams, and Chicago knew they probably should have drafted Jaden.
yeah.
They just couldn't do it.
No, because they were worried about the backlash, right? Because
Yeah.
if they passed, like let's just say they passed on Caleb, they took Jaden struggled, and then Caleb goes on to have great success. Which there's a rumor out there that that Caleb's camp early on tried to be like, Chicago, don't draft him, he's not coming here, and they're like, no, we're not playing this game. Stop, like you're coming here. But I think a lot of that look, we can go down a whole rabbit hole with Caleb Williams. I think a lot of that has to be the organization's fault. Like, why teams decide to have lame duck coaches be in charge of developing rookie quarterbacks is beyond me, and is the dumbest thing you can do for development. But anyway, that's a whole other episode I can get into on it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to bog it down too much and stay on topic here. Is there any other things y'all want to talk about with the Heisman outcome, other than the fact that Travis Hunter's girlfriend not standing up when he won it, and like Deion Sanders having to be like, "Hey, stand up," when like he was walking to the stage and stuff. Did you see that?
The girl with the
Did-
money tattoo on her ring finger? Yeah, he's
Yeah.
making a mistake. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
I do have a
So-
little fun fact for you two Yankees fans.
here we go.
Do you know who Cody Bellinger's wife used to go out with?
No.
Giancarlo Stanton, who he's now sharing a locker
Oh,
room.
word.
Ha!
Giancarlo
great.
Stanton's ex-girlfriend married to Cody Bellinger.
Alrighty then.
Oh,
This is
man.
the information I bring to the table here. Just so
Can
you
you
know.
imagine him being like, "Hey, hon, I just got traded to the Yankees. I think you may know one of the players, John Carlo." She's like, "Oh, great,
Yeah.
Terrific.
Awkward.
awkward."
No, I did notice that Lil Wayne was there, which was kind of weird. I don't understand Lil Wayne being there.
Because it's Wheezy, baby. I don't know.
Because he doesn't root for hometown teams. He likes the Green Bay Packers, and so
I mean, I know he went to Colorado to go check out their locker room and stuff, and they did it on the that Coach Prime show on Amazon Prime.
So real quick, Shane, I am so glad you said that about Lil Wayne. Because I like, so Kendrick Lamar is performing the halftime show, right?
yeah.
Says Lil Wayne wants to like, he doesn't want to cheer for the Saints or anything like that, but he's gonna cry and be so butthurt when he's not chosen because like, Louisiana, my heart, man, it's my hometown. It's like, bro, you take every opportunity to be like, yeah, like that team better, that team better, that team better, that team better, that team better. Bro, I don't care. No,
Not to mention, you're not going to put a guy out there. I think Lil Wayne's great. He forgets his lyrics. He has to be reminded of his own lyrics.
well, there's probably some substances that
Right.
cause
he's-
that.
Yeah.
I get the argument for why he should do it. LA got, hey, this is a shout out to all LA rap.
You know,
Why don't-
Jay-Z makes the decision, right? Jay-Z
Yes.
doesn't like Lil Wayne. So
I don't know
Yeah.
how much longer Jay-Z is going to be able to make that decision, but
All that stuff's false, from what I heard.
is it?
Yeah. Like,
he's part of the Illuminati. If I wound up dead, it wasn't myself.
anyway, so do you want to talk some more New Orleans sports real quick? Pelicans hat, kind of perfect going into it. So a report comes out there that basically the Pelicans are willing to just sell the team, not literally, but trade away pieces that aren't Herb Jones or Trey Murphy. That's what I've heard. I don't disagree. Like, it's just hard, right? Like, the injuries have just killed us, and it just sucks that we're not going to be able, that if they do decide to make a move, we're not going to be able to see a real iteration of this roster together. I think they could do some damage, just injuries have killed it. What y'all thoughts? Y'all think it's just time to hit the escape button, blow it up? Yeah. You think it's time
Just to
to
hit
go
the button, hit ejectocito, because
rip the Band-Aid off?
Zion sucks.
we're
I knew where you were going.
we're almost in last place in the league. Like, if you're almost in last place in any league, like, it's time to be like, okay, what's wrong?
Well, whatever the medical is over there is just that needs to be looked into. I'm sorry.
If we trade away Zion and that dude plays the way he was supposed to play and doesn't get these soft tissue injuries like have been happening, I think the Pelicans and Saints need to fire every medical professional that works for them immediately, because there's something going on down here. But I'm
Those
looking
two
at
things aren't mutually exclusive. They do need to fire all those people. Zion sucks. So get what you can for him, ship him out.
I've seen Sporting News say that they might send the Warriors might send Draymond here. I've seen
I
the
won't wear a
Thunder.
Pelicans gear while if he's on it. That is,
I've
hate him
seen
more than any player in any sport in the history of sports.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't have respect for a guy who has legitimately been suspended for kicking guys in the nuts.
I agree. I also have seen that, the report, it's like all the sports news people put out.
Yeah.
Oh, these people, this could be a trade. This could be a trade. I've seen the Kings thrown out. I've seen Oklahoma City. I've seen all kinds of different names come up. Like, all teams come up about possible trades.
Trade destinations.
So I think it's time to, I've seen the Blazers. It's time to offload and just go about our day.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, you can't really make an argument.
I did also see something that kind of caught my eye. Speaking of the Pelicans and the Saints, for that matter, did y'all see a report that Tillman Fertitta is interested in purchasing the Saints when that team comes up for sale?
I did not.
Yeah,
I wonder how that
did
would.
see that.
He's
He's trying
not.
to buy
He's,
the Commanders. He got outbid for the Commanders.
Mhm.
You know, so I don't know how much y'all know this, but they have an approved sale or they have an approved structure that that's approved by the NFL that when Gale dies, I think the team has to stay here. I don't know that
Yeah,
for
the
sure.
succession
yeah,
plan.
it's a
But all the
succession plan.
money,
It goes to
all the money
charities
from
in
the
New
sale
Orleans.
goes to the city.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
I've seen that.
I've said this for a long time. I know a lot of people also started saying it now, but I would think Ty Graves buys the team before they let the guy from Houston buy the team.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily be mad at the guy from Houston buying the team. Just on the surface level that I've heard, like the Fox 8 report I saw, he was a Saints fan growing up. So
I dealt with the Rockets organization before when I was at Pepsi. I mean, I know they don't maybe sometimes perform the way they need to, but it's a well-run organization. The people like working for that guy. And
would that sale does it have to be the Pelicans and Saints together when that sale happens, or is it
he can't buy the Pelicans? I don't think, because he owns the Rockets.
He owns the Rockets.
Yeah.
So
I
when the
want to
sale
say
happens, it has to be two completely different entities.
if it went to him, yeah. But I want to say that I want to say the sale was supposed to be for them together, but I guess technically they could sell them separately. I mean, they are two different entities. God, that'd be messy though. Could you imagine? Like, since you have you have Saints people over in the Pelicans organization and vice versa, so that'd be weird.
I mean, you have just to kind of. I mean, it's not the same, but you have Fenway Sports Group owns, like the Red Sox, and they own another team out in Boston. But then they also own the Pittsburgh Penguins. So, you got the Bruins in town, but you own the Pittsburgh Penguins in Pittsburgh, which is one of their rivals. Like, I think it's just a conflict of interest being like an owner owning two teams in the same sport would be the issue.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, unless somehow it's a way where, hey, I just own these teams. They operate independently of each other.
He can't own it too.
Yeah, I was about to say, there's just no way without ever having like any kind of suspicion. Because
you can own one of each sport. You can't have multiple.
So then the only way that would work is that's where your Todd Graves theory would happen is he would buy the Pelicans, and then
the other guy.
I don't think Todd Graves wants the Pelicans. I think Todd Graves is going to buy the Saints.
Yep.
He's worth $8.5 billion. He actually could buy both if he wanted, but
I think I have an idea. If they need a new arena, I have an idea where they could put it. They just got to wait for the people to tear that building down.
What, out of New Orleans East?
No, you got that building that they've been waiting to tear down for years. That's been
that'd be a logistical.
You take that down, and then the buildings next to it have been collapsing all week. So then you just tear all that down. You build a brand new arena in that spot.
I'll let you have fun on that track.
Because I know that's a big thing that they've been talking about is they need upgrades done to the Smoothie King Center, and
yeah, they can easily do that.
It's the second smallest arena in the NBA, only ahead of Atlanta, and like we can't have an All-Star game because I think it's like the hotels or the airports or something is part of the criteria.
Trust me, we can have it. I mean, all it's going to take for them to have another freaking emergency, and they'll call us and be like, "Hey, can y'all host the All-Star game within like 6 months' notice?" Cool, thanks.
We can host the All-Star game. We just won't host it in the arena. It's just like the Final Fours here. You host it in the dome.
Anyway,
if you could garner that, I was going to say something, but no.
Go ahead. I
was going to say if it can garner that much interest, the NBA All-Star game.
Well, it doesn't matter. You can section off the dome. You can always make it look smaller, like they do for concerts and stuff. They dark out some of it. They do seat kills, stuff like that. So,
I mean, look, I worked the last All-Star game here. All the NBA officials have said it's one of the best All-Star games that they've had in a while. So
you worked at the arena.
Yeah, the arena. Yeah,
I
worked. Oh yeah. Sorry.
The industry I'm in, it's like, I worked for this event. It's like,
I worked.
Yeah.
I work security hand in hand with NBA personnel, so they didn't have a problem with it. Now I'm sure they probably updated the stuff, but yeah, I mean, look at the dome. They just did all those renovations. I don't doubt that that wouldn't be high on their list as well if the possibility came of being like, oh, do we lose a team or not? So they'll make those upgrades. Broseph, do you want to wrap up one thing on your list of that you have in our notes as we close out the show?
In the world of no one's going to give a damn about this, but people are going to give a damn about it enough to be annoying as hell. Logan Paul and Conor McGregor have agreed to a boxing match that will happen in India. I don't know what the rules are. I don't know who's going to show it. But I saw this come across. I had an alert on my phone today about it, and it said Conor McGregor going to fight Logan Paul, and then he'll focus on his return to the octagon. I'm sorry. Conor McGregor is not going to return to the UFC.
No.
I don't care how many times Uncle Dana's going to tell us he's coming back. I don't know. I don't care how many times they're going to advertise it, this, that, and the other. Conor McGregor made his money in that Mayweather fight, and that was it. The only fight he may come back for that he would be somewhat interested in would maybe be Dustin Poirier. But, I mean, I don't think anyone wants to see that. I think Dustin Poirier is done. He wants to have one more fight to happen in either Lafayette or New Orleans and then call it a career if he hasn't already.
Yeah, I mean,
he hasn't done the ceremonial leave my gloves in the octagon yet. So he already knows, like, his last fight, he wants it to happen in Louisiana, and I bias out of it. I agree. Like, he's done good enough for the organization that I think he deserves it.
Yeah.
But Conor McGregor is done. He's not fighting in the UFC anymore. Unless he needs to pick up some legal fees, he's not.
Yeah, I was about to say there's too much stank on him right now from stuff outside the sport.
His own Irish whiskey dropped him as a sponsor. He's not sponsored by Proper 12 anymore.
That's hilarious.
So
that's because he sold it. He doesn't own it anymore. He owned it.
Yeah, but he's not the spokesman anymore.
Right.
This is the
right.
He was the spokesman when he sold it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like when Vince McMahon, like, they made that new company and then all that stuff happened. You're like, oh, yeah, Vince, we told you we'd have something, but no, get out of here.
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, I think that's it. Is there anything else y'all want to add before we wrap this fun show up?
That was a good one.
That's it then.
I'm good with it.
So, for Joey and for Shane, I'm going to sign off today, and y'all have a good one. Peace.